Hello, I'm Simon Palin and you're watching the Consumer Quarter, where we take a look at what's happening in the retail sector and at the issues affecting you as a consumer. In this edition, is the internet a help or a hindrance to traditional media?
There's plenty of media providers out there who are being successful in terms of using the internet to reach a bigger audience.
And complaints about group buying websites are surging.
It costs us a lot of money. I mean, put it this way, I will never do it again.
But first, it's that sinking feeling when you open your mobile phone bill and you get the shock of your life. The technical term for this is bill shock, and a new study shows it's hitting nearly half of all phone users. The report's authors say many consumers don't understand the contract or phone plan they're on.
The majority of people don't actually read the contracts. The contracts can be 5, 6, 7 pages long. They sign on the dotted line and they trust the providers.
Mobile phone users are urged to think twice before signing contracts because 2/3 of consumers are paying for things they simply do not use. And still on mobile phones, the maker of the BlackBerry phone says it's withdrawing from most consumer markets around the world to focus on the business market. The struggling phone maker has been hit hard by the success of its touchscreen phone rivals. The news came as BlackBerry posted its quarterly profit result, which slumped 25% from a year ago and was below market expectations. Well, as it turned out, video didn't kill the radio star, and new research shows the internet isn't killing traditional media either. For the first time, the internet's impact on TV, radio and newspapers has been quantified, and despite the phenomenal growth of online media, most types of traditional media are still growing as well. Perth's Rob Nixon has found fame through his cooking shows, but he's not a TV chef. The former airport worker is an internet chef.
Let's get started.
His cooking clips have been viewed by 42 million people.
My salary is 4 or 5 times as much as it was working out at the airport.
Internet giant Google also has much to gain from trumpeting the power of the web. Its own report shows Australians spend triple the amount of time online than they did a decade ago.
The vast majority of Australians are online today, and we also know that Australians are great early adopters of new technology.
The internet now accounts for 7% of total media revenues in Australia. The report projects this to rise to 14% by 2015.
The consumer gets to control it. You control when you watch it, how you watch it, whether it's at a PC, on your laptop.
And the increasing use of smartphones and computer tablets is also set to turbocharge internet usage, as is the rollout of the national broadband network. The report also shows that most traditional media revenues are still growing, in part aided by the internet.
There's plenty of media providers out there who are being successful in terms of using the internet to reach a bigger audience.
Free-to-air TV's never been stronger. Subscription TV continues to grow.
The report shows radio, book and movie revenues also remain strong. Newspapers are tipped to stabilise but not regain any of their lost revenues. Only magazines are expected to lose money. And the internet is also changing the way businesses promote themselves. Online vouchers are the latest promotional gimmick. Australians buy 1 million vouchers from group buying and daily deal sites every month, but new figures show complaints about cheap internet deals have soared. Here's the ABC's Nicole Chettle.
Tony Passarelli jumped online to boost his bottom line, but the result was just the opposite. What he thought was a 3-month deal ran for a year, costing his business around $20,000.
I think it was my mistake too as well. I could have gone through the contract. It cost us a lot of money. I mean, put it this way, I will never do it again.
In the year to January, there were nearly 4,000 complaints across the country about group buying and daily deals websites.
Firstly, not receiving the goods, in some instances long delays, in other cases people not being able to redeem the vouchers once they've been received, and finally refunds, not being able to get a refund.
Some small businesses are ill-equipped to handle demand from online bargain hunters.
What we're seeing is that group buying really works for some businesses and it actually doesn't work for other businesses. So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
But for some, like Melbourne-based Catch of the Day and Scoop On, business is booming.
We truly have been growing by 100% a year, every year for the last 5 years. Revenues last financial year were 120 million and looks like it's going to double this year.
And it's not just big-ticket items grabbing attention. A $2 deal from a fast food chain sold out. Websites like these are exploding, and cost-conscious consumers are tipped to spend $650 million this year alone. Some shops are putting on extra staff and a separate phone to deal with the deluge, because when it comes to boosting business, you should be careful what you wish for.
And many retailers and others are increasingly using social media these days to try to boost business. But while Twitter messages are limited to just 140 characters at a time, it seems the potential for brand damage is enormous when things go haywire. Qantas, Coca-Cola, Coles and Woolworths have all had major Twitter fails when their online campaigns turned sour, triggering a torrent of abuse by customers.
The issue is when a brand just assumes that, hey, because social media is something that younger people are interested in, we'll just give this to the intern and let them handle it. And that usually is when things go wrong.
Experts say one of the most common social media pitfalls is when businesses don't have a defined goal before launching a campaign. Australia's leading brands are losing credibility with consumers, according to a new report. The Brand Asset Valuator report shows many brands' reputations are being compromised by the constant quest for sales. Widespread discounting has also undermined what some brands stand for. The survey of 5,000 Australians on 1,300 brands shows trust in them has declined 22% in the last 2 years. Now, financial services and retailers are bearing the brunt of consumer anger over confusing offers and also lack of customer service. And that report also shows Australia's big supermarkets generally do enjoy a strong brand perception among many Australian consumers, but increasingly Coles and Woolworths are being criticised for mimicking popular branded goods with their own home branded ones. A few weeks ago on the Consumer Quarter, we showed you these examples, and now the media and marketing website Mumbrella has put together a few examples too. Let's take a look. I'll just cut in there. That video goes for a while, but you get the picture. Private label goods now account for 25% of all supermarket sales. And to make space for them on the shelves, the supermarkets are increasingly taking popular branded goods away. Okay, let's go overseas now, where the British government is banning the sale of cut-price alcohol to clamp down on problem drinking. Health experts have welcomed this plan, but the drinks industry says it won't work and is threatening legal action.
Every weekend in town centres throughout Britain, scenes like this are played out over and over again. For many Britons, a typical night out involves drinking to excess, and with drunkenness comes aggression and violence. Relative to average incomes, alcohol is now 70% cheaper in Britain than it was in 1980. The government thinks antisocial drinking is too easy and too cheap.
It's mad when you can buy cans of lager for 25p or 2 litres of cider for less than £2, so we need to deal with that.
They'll deal with it by making it illegal to sell alcohol for less than 40 pence, that's around 60 cents per standard drink. Most bars and restaurants already sell drinks above that level, but it would mean the cheapest drinks in bottle shops could more than double in price.
We know that the heaviest drinkers and the youngest drinkers gravitate to the cheapest alcohol, so this is in effect quite a targeted approach.
The UK Wine and Spirit Trade Association says the new measures will target the poor and won't stop binge drinking. Others complain about the excessive restrictions of the nanny state.
I think adults should be allowed to make their own decisions about what they spend their money on once they've paid their tax.
I don't think it's going to stop it, no. People who are going to drink, innit? Do you know what I mean?
But the view of health and law enforcement authorities is prevailing. Scotland is already trialling a floor price, and Northern Ireland is expected to follow. The results will be watched closely from around the world, especially in places like the Northern Territory, where health experts are calling for a similar scheme to tackle alcohol abuse in Australia's hardest drinking state or territory.
Jonathan Flynn with that story. And finally, China is considering further cuts to taxes charged on imported luxury items. as it tries to boost domestic consumption. This move would be welcome news to European fashion houses as they increasingly look to China's elite to buy their prized creations.
China is the new black. They may be almost unknown in Europe, but this year the catwalks and parties that accompany Paris Fashion Week were teeming with China's own style elite. Chinese celebrities rubbing shoulders with the stars of world fashion, film and music, and being feted by France's most prestigious fashion houses as they turn their gaze eastward.
China becoming the most important market for the fashion industry. All the luxury brands have the #1 business in China.
Apart from the United States, China now boasts the highest number of billionaires in the world. It's a booming market for luxury brands, forecast to be worth $27 billion by 2015, and one where the famed French designers are determined to secure a place. One of the most prestigious houses of them all, Chanel, is already much sought after in China. And as these high-end companies vie for position inside China's increasingly competitive luxury market, they well understand the benefits of having China's most famous faces at their shows.
China represents the desire, the market of course, and a new generation for the world. And so a partnership between Paris and China is inevitable, because they complete each other.
And the love affair cuts both ways. China in Paris has been held on the sidelines of France's Fashion Week for the past 2 years, a chance for young Chinese designers to showcase their work in the fashion capital of the world.
I believe that for all the designers around the world, Paris is fashion's highest palace. So as a Chinese designer, I really want to come to Paris and present my designs to everyone.
While these young Chinese designers work to make a name for themselves in the prized fashion world, it's abundantly clear that for those who've already made it, China is the prize.
Jane Braslin with that story. And that's all for this edition of the Consumer Quarter. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see any past episodes, or if you've got any feedback or even story ideas, please feel free to get in touch online, on Twitter at Simon Palin, or on Facebook, search for the Consumer Quarter page and click like to stay up to date. And I'll see you next time.